Brother and sister, first of all, I want to welcome everybody, especially our speakers, Dr. Wong, to tonight's Dhamma sharing. Today is the fourth phase, the first day of the fourth phase of the MCO. So with the dropping of the new cases, we hope that the MCO will be lifted soon. But whatever it is, we hope that everybody is well, safe, and healthy. So with this attention, with the third attention of the MCO, it's our sincere hope that we can use the time meaningfully to enrich ourselves emotionally and spiritually. That's why we are happy to have Dr. Wong with us tonight to share with us on the topic of the Dhamma and COVID-19. Let me introduce you briefly about Dr. Wong. Dr. Puna Wong Yin On is currently an associate professor in internal medicine at Monash University, Malaysia. He has been sharing the Dhamma regularly in Johor Bahru, Singapore, Jakarta, Manila, HCMC, and Bangkok for the past decades and had been invited to speak at the 3rd, 7th, and 8th Global Conference on Buddhism. He is an advisor to MJ Club of Meda Lodge, Johor Bahru, and Monash University Clinical School Buddhist Society. He has been conducting weekly Dhamma sharing at Meda Lodge Pusat Buddhist, Johor Bahru since 2004. So with this, I pass over the floor to Dr. Wong.
All right, brothers and sisters, I hope you can hear and see me well. Can I see some thumbs if you hear and see me well? All right, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. Shall we begin by just 3 Namo Tassa to pay homage to our teacher before we start? Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. All right. Thank you to the Buddhist Missionary Society of Malaysia for inviting me. It's always a pleasure and a great honor to share the Dhamma with people from our beloved country. And I also see Buddhist students from all over, including Singapore and perhaps even Indonesia. So let me start by sharing the screen. All right. And I would like to start by sharing with you all that we are living in very exciting times, if you can use the word exciting, because we are in the midst of a global pandemic. And even though the Buddha taught the Dhamma 2,600 years ago, the Dhamma that the Buddha taught is still as refreshing and relevant today as when he first taught it 2,600 years ago. So I call it the marvelous Buddha Dhamma because indeed that message is marvelous. Now, while we might think that we are, oh dear, stuck in a horrible time, let me assure you that pandemics is nothing new in human history. It is nature. Just as earthquakes would happen, just as volcanoes will erupt, pandemics occur with great regularity in human history. And this is just a list of those that are in recent memory. And you can see there are so many pandemics which have literally killed millions of people. The Spanish flu, for example, 100 years ago killed an unbelievable 100 million people. And how many of you here are aware that pandemics are so much in our consciousness that our children sing nursery rhymes which originates from these pandemics? The Black Death, bubonic plague, 1347. Long time it lasted, 75 million people died. To this day, children sing this nursery rhyme, ring a ring of roses, pocket full of posies, usher, usher, all fall down. How many people are aware that that nursery rhyme dates to the Black Death? Ring a ring of roses. They use a lot of herbs and flowers to disguise the smell of death, the stench of death. Okay, that's why you have the song, the word pocket full of posies. Then you sneeze, husha, husha, and you're dead. All fall down. And the children hold hands in a circle and everybody falls down. So pandemics and great human tragedies like this occur regularly. It's not something new. It is part of our cycle of life in samsara. And if you look at recent history, over just the last 100 years, we have already so many pandemics. The 1968 H3N2 influenza pandemic killed 1 million people. That was the last biggie that we had. So I want to start by letting us know that no, you are not in a very special time whereby only you are suffering and everybody in history is not suffering. No, throughout history, this is a reality of life. The Buddha Dhamma had made it very clear that as long as you are a conditioned being, you are going to undergo all this dukkha. And 100 years ago, the Spanish flu, the pandemic, killed 40,000 people in British Malaya. Now, the very foundation of the Buddha's teaching is the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the three universal characteristics, and of course the middle way, the Noble Eightfold Path. The first Noble Truth tells us of dukkha. The word suffering is not a very good translation of the word dukkha, because dukkha means much more than suffering. Dukkha means emotional stress, it means unhappiness, it means emo, it means boredom, it means xian, and so many other adjectives. And the Buddha said this is the common denominator of life. As long as we see the things that the Buddha have listed here, which is birth, aging, sickness, death, association with those that we do not like, dissociation with those that we like, not getting what we want, and whatever we grasp onto, that is going to give rise to stress, dukkha. Now, the first Noble Truth tells us that this is our common denominator. The first Noble Truth does not say that life is suffering. The first Noble Truth says there is suffering in life. And the Buddha even go on to be so specific as to classify it into birth, aging, sickness, death, association with those that you do not like, dissociation with those that you like, not getting what you want, and whatever you cling onto and will not let go. It is not a denial that there is lots of goodness, happiness, and beauty in life. But what it tells us, that amidst all this goodness and beauty, none of us can escape from what causes dukkha. And again, this is so much in our semi-consciousness that in Chinese we say 生老病死, 生老病死. as a matter of speech without even realizing that we are referring to the First Noble Truth. So right now, at this point in time, in the midst of this pandemic, we are looking at the First Noble Truth. It is not a matter of whether you believe or you do not believe. This is the truth. A truth is a truth, irrespective of whether you believe it or not. You may choose not to believe that water boils at 100 degrees centigrade at sea level. But it makes no difference. It boils at 100 degrees at sea level. And a truth, like the First Noble Truth, tells you that even though you might live a wonderfully blessed life that is, wow, so happy all the time, you cannot escape from birth, aging, sickness, death, association with those you do not like, dissociation with those you like, and not getting what you want. And of course, the disappointment when you grasp. Even the richest man in the world will still have this. Now, the pandemic literally teaches you right in your face, this is the First Noble Truth. Now, we not only suffer when we suffer, we also suffer when others suffer. And again, this pandemic shows this very well. Someone else is suffering. Now we are all in lockdown. Everybody suffers. And so, if you just look around the whole world now, you will see how true, how marvelous is the Buddha's insight. The other thing that we see in the Buddha's Dhamma that is staring us right in the face is the Buddha's teachings on the three universal characteristics: impermanence, dukkha, and not self. While many people are able to perceive impermanence and even the dukkha that we just discussed, a lot of people fail to perceive what the Buddha meant when he said, this is not self. The Buddha said in the second discourse, the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, he asked, is your bodily form yourself? If the bodily form is yourself, then you should be able to tell it not to grow old, not to fall sick, not to suffer, etc. But you can't. It will fall sick, it will grow old, whether you like it or you do not like it. You can't control it. The same with your feelings, your perceptions, your volitions. It arises and falls because of causes and conditions. And right now, you look around and you see so much of this is all around us now. We think we are in control of our lives. We would like to think that, but the reality is there are so many things that affects us that are subject to so many immeasurable causes and conditions. And when these causes and conditions change, they will affect us in big ways and in small ways. Now, in this pandemic, you can see how huge that impact is. Those of us in Malaysia are already in the second month of sitting at home, staring and working at a computer. I just posted in my Facebook that I'm suffering from Zoom word phobia or Zoom word, whatever word you want to use, which basically just means I am poisoned by so much time spent on Zoom, which I'm sure everybody who is working, suffering from the same thing now. All my university teaching is now on Zoom. So I spend hours literally every day preparing and teaching on Zoom. But these are beyond my control. The world has changed. So not only is my body beyond my control, even my mind, my thoughts are beyond my control. It's so much affected by whatever is in my environment and my surroundings. Here you see the Buddha's teaching of anatta, or not self, straight in the face. And even if you choose, I don't believe it, this is myself, it makes no difference. If you're going to fall sick, you're going to fall sick. And whatever happens in the surrounding area is going to affect you. The teaching of anatta, there is no permanent I, the Buddha said. You and I, we all are activities. We are all activities that flows continuously. We would like to think of ourselves as a permanent entity, but that is not the truth. You and I is a flow of activity that is changing all the time. And that is what I quoted just now. The Buddha in the second discourse said, form, your body, monks, is not self. If your form, your physical body were yourself, this form would not lend itself to disease. It would be possible to say with regards to form, let this form be thus, let this form not be thus. But precisely because form is not self, you have no control. Forms lends itself to disease. And it is not possible to say with regards to form, let this form be thus, let this form not be thus. So you and I will be subject to the very same risk of getting COVID-19 as any other person, if the cause and the condition for you to get COVID-19 is there. So if you are very, very recalcitrant, you insist on going out, mixing around, you have the exact same probability of catching COVID-19 because your form is not yourself. It behaves according to causes and conditions. So these are the universal truths that the Buddha taught us in the second discourse, which you can see now in the midst of this pandemic, staring at us in the face. Everything in life is impermanent and always changing. That's anicca. My wife just was discussing with me half an hour ago. She read the Dhammapada, and in there it says, better to live one day observing the rise and fall of things than to live 100 years not knowing this. And my wife was asking me, what exactly does the rise and fall of things refer to? And I said that refers to the impermanence of life. Everything comes and goes. The Buddha said, even if you just spend one day perceiving this truth, it is better than someone who lived 100 years in ignorance, thinking that it is permanent. And because nothing is permanent, everything changes. Life is unreliable and unstable. So whatever you think is reliable, is stable, is actually not. And this we saw in the last 2 months. Within 2 months, our lives have turned completely upside down. Completely. So, well, some of my Singaporean friends might think that, wow, life in Singapore is very stable. But it's not. It has turned upside down within a month. Same for us in Malaysia and friends in Indonesia. And of course, anatta, not self, which I referred to just now, no unchanging substance, no unchanging core. The Buddha said everything is an activity which is continuously changing. There is no unchanging core within you, even though that is what you and I hope to have. Happiness. We suffer because even the happiness we enjoy is impermanent. Just now, I made a statement. The first noble truth does not say that life is suffering. The first noble truth says there is suffering in life. And the categories of suffering are clearly listed by the Buddha: birth, aging, sickness, death, and so on. There is lots of happiness in life. There is lots of goodness in life. But even that happiness is also impermanent. It rises and it falls. And let us again look. Most of us had good health. Some poor people, within a week, became very, very sick. Some young people, within a few days, became very, very sick. So while you think this body is yours and it is healthy and etc., it can just very quickly collapse like that. And similarly, prosperity. So many of my friends who are in business have been telling me the sad reality that their prosperity has literally evaporated overnight. So whatever health, happiness, prosperity that we enjoy at one moment can disappear the next. And this is part of the impermanence, dukkha, and not self. So this is a universal truth. I put a line in Latin, mora certa, hora, sorry, not horse, incerta. Mora is death. That is certain. Hora is time. That is uncertain. Now, the Buddha called old age, sickness, and death that you and I can see all around the world now. You see in America, huge mortality figures, staggering. You see in UK, the same staggering mortality figures. So we see death, we see disease among the old, and of course we see a lot of old people suffering. And the Buddha used a word. He said these are all divine messengers. They are Deva Dutas. For those of us who are from Malaysia and who understand Malay, Deva is divine, Duta, Jalan Duta, ambassador, Deva Duta. These are divine messengers. They are telling you, look, this is the reality. This is the truth. Every one of us will one day similarly grow old, fall ill, and die. We may pay lip service to it, but we certainly do not live our lives following this. And I've always said this to my students. And for my medical students who are in the audience now, this is the first time I'm telling you this. One of my great dreams is that every one of us here knows exactly when we will die. If you and I know exactly when you and I will die, I assure you, we will live our lives completely differently. But because we think we are going to live forever, we don't. And in fact, the Buddha said this as one of the very important daily contemplations. Every day, the Buddha said, reflect on the fact that you are going to die and you will live your life completely differently. Things which are unimportant will no longer be important. Only things which are important will be important. So to all my Dhamma brothers and sisters here caught up in petty quarrels within EXCO, within committees, it's unimportant. If you're going to die in 2 months' time, do you think that quarrel is going to make any difference? No, you brush it aside. But because we think we are going to live forever, we pay lip service to it, and we don't live according to this. So the Dhamma that is taught by the Buddha is actually very rational and very pragmatic. And I purposely put these two pictures up because if the Buddha is alive today, I am very sure he will wear a mask. And if we had to put him in a car, I'm guarantee you he will put on a safety belt. Because the Dhamma that the Buddha teaches is rational, it's pragmatic. We do not go around selling ice that melts and saying, buy this ice, all your sins are forgiven, because by the time you receive the ice, it would have melted. No, we do not do things like that. But in the midst of this pandemic, brothers and sisters, let us be grateful for our many, many blessings. Most of us here are well. If not, you won't be in this audience. Most of you will have good food on the table, and most of you will have reasonable finances to tide you over. So let us be grateful for all these blessings. And most important, I would say, let us be grateful that we've got good kalyana mittas. These are all my kalyana mittas. And they are as close as family to me. If I ever need help, they are the first to rush and say, what can I do? So we have so many blessings, and sometimes we forget that this is one of the biggest blessings. That's why I purposely put this picture up. The other second thing I want to share is the Buddha's teaching in a sutta called the Puna Sutta. Because this teaches me repeatedly that I like to share with you the attitude we must have when we are facing difficulties. There was a venerable called Venerable Puna, and he approached the Buddha And he asked the Buddha to teach him the Dhamma in brief. And the Buddha did give him a discourse. And after that, the Buddha asked him, Puna, where are you going to go to now? And he said, oh Lord, there's a country called Sunaparanta. Very difficult name to remember, so I always say Singapore. Because I live in Johor Bahru, Singapore is just next door. And I used to go there quite often to share. So Lord, there's a country called Singapore. I'm going to live there. Puna, the Singaporeans are very fierce. They are rough. If they insult and ridicule you, what will you think? And the Venerable Puna said, if they insult and ridicule me, I would think these Singaporean people, joking of course, are civilized, very civilized, in that they do not hit me with their hands. This is what I would think, oh blessed one. But what if they hit you with their hands? Then I would think they are very civilized, in that they do not hit me with a clod. But what if they hit you with a clod? Then I would think, I'm very grateful that they don't hit me with a stick. Now, what if they hit you with a stick? Oh, I'm thinking that they are very civilized in that they don't hit me with a knife. So you can see at the end of this discourse, at the end of this conversation, the Buddha said, yes, Puna, you are ready to go there. You have got the right attitude. All right, you've got the right attitude. So similarly, I'm sharing this now because we too now have, ayo, I lost this, I lost that, no business, terrible, whatever, whatever. But remember, it could be worse. It could be worse. You could be sick. And they say, okay, I got it, but then you're still alive. You didn't die. You didn't end up in ICU. So there is always another worst case scenario. So there are always something that we can be grateful for. So there are so many blessings. And some of us are very fortunate in that pervasive suffering is not a prominent aspect of our lives. Some of us are literally in heaven all the time. Our lives are very smooth. Our lives have very little pain, very little suffering. Everything flows so smoothly. We sometimes even wonder whether there is suffering. But this good state, this good fortune, this blessing is also a cause for delusion. Because in that state, you can feel yourself so happy that you lose touch with our genuine nature of our impermanent, unsatisfactory, and non-self existence. We forget dukkha. That is why the Buddha said, when he was first asked to teach the Dhamma, he said, in this generation where people are so saturated with all the sensual gratifications, they are not going to want to learn the Dhamma. Because every time we have dukkha, we replace it with a sensual gratification and we're okay. So if I feel happy, I go shopping, then I'm okay. I don't like this, I go buy a new dress, I'm okay. Oh, it's hot, I switch on the aircon, I'm okay. But we forget that beneath it are still many things which can give us a lot of unhappiness. And of this pandemic that we are seeing now forces us, every one of us, including those who lead such a blessed, happy life, to see the reality of the first noble truth. So what are the solutions? What are the solutions? How can we use the Dhamma to help us be happy and well and stay safe in this difficult period? Well, the first thing is, like the picture of that venerable there, wear a mask. That's common sense. These are our skills, our techniques that we use to face this crisis and post-crisis. I already spoken about the Four Noble Truths. I shall share a little bit more on the Brahma Viharas in a short while. The winds of change is gain and loss, praise and blame, etc. We will all go through this. But the Buddha said a well-trained disciple knows that whether it is gain, whether it is loss, it is impermanent. Whether it is praise, whether it is blame, it is also impermanent. So the reassuring thing for us is even the present pandemic is impermanent. And history tells us that all pandemics are impermanent. They come, they go. The universal characteristics I've already mentioned, anicca, dukkha, anatta. And I'm going to talk a little bit more on karma and mindfulness now. Now, when someone is fully awakened, like the Buddha, even sickness is not suffering. Sickness is suffering when we see this body and this mind as self. When you realize that the body and the mind is not self, then only the body suffers. And that's why the Buddha summarized it in the first noble truth, that as long as you have attachment, the pancha upadana khanda, as long as you are attached to our aggregates of body and mind, you are going to suffer because you see it as mind. So the idea that sickness is suffering is true when you see the body as yours. So that's why the unenlightened person, sickness is suffering, because any unpleasant experience becomes attached to. Remember I said the body and the mind. Any unpleasant experience becomes my pain, my suffering. But the Buddha has clearly taught us that if you realize that the body and even the mind, even your feelings is not you, then there is pain, but it is not my pain. And the Buddha gave a perfect example of this. He was free of all suffering when he attained enlightenment at 35 years old. And even when he was 80 years old and sick with sharp abdominal pains, the Buddha endured them mindfully, clearly, comprehending, and unperturbed. Now, another very useful Buddhist teaching is dependent origination, interdependence, that everything is related to causes and conditions. Everything. We do not live in isolation. Everything is interconnected. And this pandemic gives us a perfect example of this. If you do not stay at home, if your neighbor does not stay at home, you are going to affect other people. Something so simple as just not staying at home is already going to affect another person. It really shows us right in the face that our lives are all interconnected with everybody else. If Indonesia has a lot of COVID-19, we cannot say that's their problem. Malaysia and Singapore are also going to suffer. None of us are going to escape when another one suffers. So we have to realize that if Singapore has COVID-19, we have 200,000 Malaysians working in Singapore every day, traveling back and forth across the causeway. If just 30% of them lose their jobs, 60,000 people are jobless. So our lives will be irreversibly transformed by what happens to other people as well. And I hope that we all realize that you cannot return to good health or to happiness until not just Malaysia, but Singapore, Southeast Asia, in fact, the whole world has improved. All we need is someone from Indonesia to bring it over, and you start like snake and ladder from square one again. So our interdependence with each other is not merely words, but it's actually a very profound truth, which I hope we all can see clearly now. And even remember after this pandemic is over. Now, another thing we can utilize very well in this present crisis is the 4 Brahma Viharas, of which metta, karuna, unconditional, loving kindness, and compassion is probably the most skillful things we can do. This is what I taught my students in the uni. I teach them regularly about metta, but I keep on telling them metta is not simply chanting or saying. Metta must be in action. Metta begins with a thought. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May you be well. May you be happy. May I be well. May I be happy. But as far as possible, it must be translated to an action as well. And the Buddha challenges us to develop what he called unconditioned metta for all. And he puts this analogy as the love of a mother for her only child. But I hope you realize that no mother just go around saying, I love you to the child from morning to night. The child will probably starve to death. The mother's love for the child is not so much in words. In fact, in Asian culture, you hardly see the mother tell the child that, at least not in our generation. But the mother's love is expressed in every bit of her action from dawn to dusk. And even when the child is asleep, the Buddha challenges us to develop that metta. It must be not only in thoughts, but in action. Now, of course, we realize now that the scale of suffering is massive. And in one particular sutta, the Buddha said, it is like a massive boulder. It is like a mountain moving. And what is this mountain? Normally we look at mountains and we don't imagine mountains move. But the Buddha is using this analogy that even the mountain is moving, crushing us. This mountain of aging, sickness, death. No cavalry, nothing can stop it. So the wise person, seeing his own good, steadfast, secures confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Now that you see all these truths that the Buddha taught us, you realize that what the Buddha taught is true. You can see it yourself. The Buddha does not want any one of us to have blind faith. If I were to tell you, Sabrina, who was a student at Brickfields Buddhist Vihara, that Sabrina, believe me, you've got 2 arms and 2 legs. And Sabrina believes me. That is faith. But the Buddha doesn't want us to have just faith. The Buddha wants you to verify that for yourself. And so Sabrina looks and says, yeah, I got 2 arms and I've got 2 legs. Now Sabrina has direct insight into the fact that she's got 2 arms and 2 legs. She does not need to believe me anymore. She has gone on to have insight into the truth. So we all now seeing in this pandemic, whatever that the Buddha taught in the Dhamma is true. You can verify it yourself. There's nothing to believe. In fact, the Buddha wouldn't want us to believe anything. So one who practices the Dhamma in thought, word, and speech, that is what is important. You must practice the Dhamma in thought, word, and deed, and not just, I love you, I love you, I love you. But as we said, the scale is massive. So do we have 1,000 arms and 1,000 eyes to help? In Mahayana Buddhism, this is the icon, the Bodhisattva of compassion with 1,000 arms and 1,000 eyes. Each arm has 1 eye to help. Do you have 1,000 arms and 1,000 eyes to help? No, it's obvious we don't. We only have 1 pair of arms and 1 pair of eyes. But that is enough. That is more than enough. You only need 1 pair. This is what I taught my Dhamma family members in Metta Lodge. I taught my Dhamma family in the uni. I said, you only need 1 pair. And I shared with them that while it is impossible for us to save the world or even the region, it is possible for us to help 1 starfish. I call this the starfish principle. And you'll remember the story of a young lad on the beach where 1,000 starfishes had been washed ashore by the high tide. And he picks 1 starfish and he throws it back into the sea. He picks another starfish and he throws it back into the sea. And a passing man saw him and asked, what are you doing? What can you do? There are probably hundreds, if not thousands of starfishes. How much can you help? And the young lad took 1 starfish and said, there, I threw into the sea. I have helped that 1. That is called the starfish principle. So I encourage my Dhamma brothers and sisters at Metta Lodge in the uni, just identify 1 small little thing. If you can help that 1 small little thing, that is good enough. Because if every Dhamma brother and sister, and there are 90 people now listening to me, 90 people will be helping 90 other people every day. So for me, it is very simple. I have some university students stuck in Johor Bahru. They can't go back because of the MCO. Malaysia, we call it Movement Control Order. So they are stuck. And the Dhamma brothers and sisters here have told me, have in fact given me money and said, if any one of them needs help, please do so on our behalf. And so I have repeatedly told those who are stuck, I repeatedly ask them every few days, do you need any help? Do you need whatever? Do you need food? Do you need money? So far, they are well. But I think what they need is metta. So I told the Dhamma brothers and sisters here, I say, look, you sisters are cooking every day. Every time you're cooking something nice, make a little bit more. And just send it to one or two of them. That's good enough. You don't have to send to the whole lot. It is just an important gesture to let them have one, some home cooked food, because every day they're ordering Grab, and two, that someone is concerned about them. And so this is just one example of a sister who cooked and sent it, and the student was so surprised and wrote to me immediately. I think this is better than Siu Yin saying, may you be well, may you be well, may you be well, 10 times. Send food once, and the student knows what is metta. Most of the time, our actions speak so loud that no one can hear our words. So let us live the Dhamma. The Buddha taught us in all social interactions, live it with metta, with karuna. Rejoice in the good deeds of others, mudita, and develop equanimity when nothing can be done. And I'm so glad to read that even monasteries are now practicing role reversal. Many of you would have seen the video that gone viral in our internet about monasteries in Thailand that instead of receiving alms food from people every day, now actually give food, water, and even some spending money to all the poor people in the vicinity. Role reversal, metta in action. And it is how we individually respond now which is important. This was one of the questions which was raised to me. And in this question, someone asked me, is this collective or group karma? So everybody suffer because of collective or group karma. Now, if you look at the Buddhist teachings, there is no such thing as collective or group karma. It is all individual karma. And then another person asked, so is it your karma to suffer this? Now, this is the Moliya Sivaka Sutta in the Samyutta Nikaya. In the Moliya Sivaka Sutta, in the Samyutta Nikaya, part of which I reproduce here, this person called Sivaka approached the Buddha and literally asked the Buddha, is everything that I suffer due to my karma? And the Buddha in this sutta say, no, it is not. There are so many other things which affects us, including climate, including injury, including, of course, our karma, including your illness, phlegm, including wind. There's so many things which affects us. Karma is merely one of them. So if you remember Boxing Day, I can't remember which year, that huge tsunami that killed so many people in Southeast Asia. And someone asked the late Chief Venerable, is this due to their collective karma? And I still remember the late Chief Venerable's answer. He said, no, it's because two earth plates moved. That is Buddhism, scientific and rational. That tsunami is the effect by a cause, and that cause is two earth plates moved. That's it. All right? So what is in our coming future? Well, we learn about anicca. We learned about impermanence. Good things are impermanent, but always remember, even bad things are impermanent. So even this pandemic is impermanent. It too will pass. It too will go away. And while it may go away like a kidney stone that we are suffering in terrible pain, it will go away. So that is a lesson we learn from history and from the Buddha's teachings. So what can we do every day? Well, first and foremost, we do our best every day, whatever we can. The tree does not bother about flowers that fall. It will just blossom and blossom and blossom new flowers. So life is not about what we've lost so far. It's about what we can still grow. In other words, we do our little bit, our very best every day. And that's it. The results will take care of themselves. And the Buddha advises every day, recall, I'm of the nature to grow old. I cannot avoid aging. Use our time well. I'm of the nature to become ill or injured. I cannot avoid illness or injury. So if someone who falls sick come and say, why me? My answer is always, why not you? Why are you so unique that the whole world can fall sick, but you cannot fall sick? But that's how the human mind works. Why me? As though the whole world can fall sick, but I can't fall sick. The Buddha tells you, whether you like it or not, you are going to fall sick. I'm of the nature to die. I cannot avoid death. And this is a very important contemplation, because as long as you contemplate on this, then important things are important. Unimportant things will be unimportant. All that is mine, dear and delightful, will vanish and change. So do not be attached too much. I'm the owner of my actions. Any thoughts, words, and deeds I do, good or evil, I will inherit. Now, this last one tells you the only thing that you own is your karma ultimately. And so if someone is to stop Sister Siu Yin on the roadside in Singapore, and I'm referring to Siu Yin because she's seen in the computer in front of me, I don't see the others. So if someone is to stop Sister Siu Yin at the bus stop in Singapore after MCO, of course, and say, Sister, who is your creator? Then she will very wisely answer as a very well-trained Buddhist, brother, my creator is my karma. Because that is what the Buddha taught us. You are created by your karma. You are the heir of your karma. Your actions is what makes you. So very importantly now, do what we can every day. Let us help where we can. Let us do our best where we can. Let us teach where we can. Let us share where we can. And because it is ultimately action, our karma, which is going to change things. Now, I love this sutta. The Buddha taught this because this is the facts of life. This is the reality. It is very bad advertisement, but it is reality. And the Buddha speaks the truth, not advertisement. The Buddha taught in this sutta, life is welcome, agreeable, pleasant. Long life, is welcome, agreeable, pleasant, and hard to obtain in the world. Beauty is welcome, agreeable, pleasant, hard to obtain in the world. Happiness, status, rebirth in heaven. All this is what people want. And every day people are praying for long life, for beauty, for happiness, for status, for rebirth in heaven. Every day people are praying, offering, puja this, puja that, asking for these things. What does the Buddha say? He said, now I tell you, these 5 things are not to be obtained by reason of prayers or wishes. If they are to be obtained by reason of prayers or wishes, who here would like them? This is common sense, the Buddha said. Use your common sense. If by prayer, everybody will live long, everybody will be beautiful, everybody will be happy, everybody will have fantastic status, everybody will go to heaven. Look around you. There will be no old people, no sick people, no dead people. There will be no poor people, no suffering people. Everybody will be as beautiful as a Korean actress renovated, post-renovation. Everybody will be rich. Everybody will have high status. But look around. Is that what you see? No. Whether you are Buddhist, Christian, Hindu, Muslim, whatever, you will still grow old, you will still fall sick, you will still die. That is the truth. That is the truth. A venerable once taught me, a Buddhist has the exact same statistical chance as dying as any other person of any other religion. While you may wish otherwise, this is the reality. And the Buddha teaches us this reality. And the Buddha said, it is not fitting for the disciple of the Noble One who desire long life to pray for it, or to delight in doing so. Instead, the disciple of the Noble Ones who desire long life should follow the path of practice leading to long life. In so doing, he will attain long life, either human or divine. So what do you do right now is stay at home. You don't want to catch COVID-19. You want to live long, you follow the path of practice that will make you live long. Wear your mask, wash your hands, stay at home. Isn't the Buddha's teaching wonderful, pragmatic, to the point? Now the world has changed completely. Life will never be the same after this. We are not going to be visiting cinemas for a long time. We are not going to be sitting and chit-chatting in a bistro for a long time. I have my fears over what will happen to Buddhist centers and temples, because for a long time, the modern temple will be the internet. This, what you see here, is the modern temple, the modern congregation. The huge halls we built at Metta Lodge will remain empty for a long, long time. The world has changed. So let us accept it and let us adapt to it. Even the Sangha must adapt. Look at the arms round in Thailand now, mask and shield. And this, of course, is a very famous venerable in Russia. And most of you would have seen his video clip of him going in the arms round in huge amounts of snow. And he walks around with goggle, face mask, and the Buddha in his heart. And of course, protective gloves. So we all must adapt. We all must adapt to this new life. And I want to end by sharing the Dalai Lama's message. I take a little bit of extract from his message. And one of the key message, in fact, this was the headline. He said, prayer is not enough. Well, this is very consistent with the Buddha's teaching, which I shared just now. While prayer is very psychologically comforting, as the Holiness Dalai Lama said, it is not enough. You need to fight coronavirus with compassion, with metta, karuna. And this is the first part of his message. And he said, sometimes friends ask me to help with some problem in the world. They think that I can do some magic, using some magical powers. I always tell them that the Dalai Lama has no magical powers. If I did, I would not feel pain in my legs or a sore throat. We are all the same as human beings, and we experience the same fear, the same hope, the same uncertainties. And of course, every one of us is acquainted with suffering and the noble truths. You have to use your mind, train your mind to conquer this: anger, panic, greed. And he is emphasizing on emotional disarmament, to try and see things realistically and clearly without the confusion of fear and rage. Well, this is what the Buddha wants us to do, to see reality, devoid of emotional overlays. If a problem has a solution, then you must work to find it. And he said, we Buddhists believe the entire world is interdependent. That is why I often speak about universal responsibility. And the pandemic now makes this so clear. The outbreak of this terrible coronavirus has shown to us that what happens to one person will affect every other person. But also remember that similarly, one act of metta karuna, one compassionate or constructive act, also has that same power of affecting everybody else. We all discussed about impermanence just now. Yes, it is a reality. And eventually this virus will pass. But until then, we will have to adopt, we will have to live our life well, we will have to live our life with metta karuna. So I'd like to end here, brothers and sisters, welcoming you to the future that we are all going to see, that we are all going to experience in the next few months to years, possibly. And whether we like it or not, we will have to adapt. If you do not adapt, you will be finished. So all the Buddhist centers in Malaysia, including our own methodology in JB, you either adapt to this new reality or you're going to self-destruct. And I think as Buddhists, learning the Dhamma, learning what the Buddha taught us about impermanence, we will adapt well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wong, for sharing with us wonderful and very enlightening talks tonight. I think I personally have learned a lot from the talk just now. I learned about the history of pandemic in the world, and especially Dr. Wong has shared with us the Dhamma that we can withdraw wisdom from to face this difficult time. And also there's no lacking of encouraging words from Dr. Wong. I believe the audience may have questions to ask Doctor. We are now open the floor to the floor to ask questions to Dr. Wong. You can unmute yourself if you want to ask any question. And please remember to mute yourself. Anybody want to ask any questions? No?
Well, Dr. Wong, Prof. Wong, I tell you one thing. I came for this talk, and like my fellow brothers in the Dharma and sisters in the Dharma telling me, there are so many talks all on COVID-19. But after your talk now, I am reflecting and thinking, it's not that bad after all. All these days of sitting at home doing work, like what you just said, it could have been worse. It's so refreshing. Thank you very, very much. This positive take out of this actually changes the mindset and how you have so cleverly put it in the various aspects of the Dharma in terms of the solutions that we have with us, but we see not until pointed out by you, and we see not because the Buddha expressed it in so many ways, but what you have succinctly done is to put it in such great perspective for us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Welcome, brother.
Thank you, Brother KL, for your sharing as well. Any others who want to share or want to ask any questions to our doctor?
It only tells us one thing. He has covered it so well that there are no questions, no room for questions to be asked.
Yeah, personally think that the talk is very enlightening. I actually reflect a lot on the talk. It actually teach me a lot of things. The Dhamma that actually we have more or less learned it before, but we have never thought of it, how to use it when we're facing this difficulty time. And then Dr. Wong had put it very nicely for us to reflect on the Dhamma, to withdraw from it the wisdom and the strength for us to face difficulties during this difficult time. Any others who want to share anything or want to ask any questions? If there's nothing, we call it a day or what?
Yeah, there's going to be a recording of this, and my recommendation is something that I will also do over and over again, is to keep on listening to this talk. Whenever we are faced with difficulties, we listen to this talk and you are really pointed in the right direction of how the Dharma can help us.
Yeah, in fact, even during the middle of the talk, I was also thinking about it. I think after the talk, I need to listen again to the talk, again to the talk.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Okay, or if Doctor, you want to say anything else? Anything you want to add?
No, only thing I like to add is So, as I said right at the beginning, thank you for inviting me and sharing to BMV and Buddhist Mahavihara and to the Buddhist Missionary Society. Is a great honor and pleasure. And I still haven't taken up Brother Lim's offer for Makan. The last time I went there, I already had dinner by the time I arrived. So I told him I'll take a rain check. He offered to take me to eat some Indian food outside. So never mind. After MCO, we can always share again in Mahavihara, and then we can all meet up and have a meal of Indian food outside. And I think that we all will have to adapt now until then, or maybe even after MCO is lifted, on this medium. And this medium has proven to be very successful. Even our Dhamma classes for children are now using Zoom. And so playing songs, etc., singing can also be done. And I think we will all have to adapt. This is the new reality.
Yeah. I think tonight we have 90 participants in this Zoom room. And also we have about 150, I think, at the peak at the FB Live. So I think, okay, I myself.
Brother Liao, there's a question. There's a question for Dr. Wong. The question says that, Dr. Wong, since it sounds so easy, why is it that Buddhist centers do not look so? Buddhists have problems acting on this.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the first part.
Dr. Wong,
yes.
Since it sounds so easy, why is it that Buddhist centers do not look so? Buddhists have problems acting on this. I really don't understand the last part though.
Yeah, I think that one of the problems is people have a lot of ego. And I think that as Buddhists, when we walk this path, as you walk this path, actually your ego should become less and less and less. But unfortunately, of course, everybody is walking at a different rate, and some people still have lots of ego. And in reality, from my observation, a lot of conflicts and unhappiness in centers sometimes arise because people have egos which are bruised. So the first thing, I think that until we reach a stage whereby we can have enough insight to realize that this ego is something we have to leave behind, let us just practice the Brahma Viharas first. If every Buddhist center, starting with the 100 or over people in this group, start with just an act of metta every day, I am very confident it will change for the better. The trouble is sometimes people do not act what they say. Their action is different from what they say. And of course, then we have problems. And that's why I used to tease my friends and family and good brothers and sisters who sits on various excos and very kicksome, you know, I always tell them, well, that is life. If not, we wouldn't need to learn the first noble truth, isn't it, Brother Lim? But let us begin at that stage of metta first. If everyone can act a little bit every day on that, I'm very confident it will be better. All right, just identify a small area and act. So before we can change a big thing, we have to change a small thing. And I think that small thing is maybe perhaps something so simple as just helping someone in your neighborhood. I think that will teach more to the community about what the Buddha taught about metta than us chanting every day the Metta Sutta. All right.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Any more questions? If not, then we'll invite Doctor to lead us in the sharing of merits.
Okay. Thank you. I will do the sharing and aspirations in English because there are a lot of people here that may not be familiar with the Pali, including my students. The Buddha taught us that any sharing and listening to the Dhamma, especially if done with mindfulness and attention, is very, very highly meritorious. So in the last hour plus, we had shared the Dhamma, and you all had listened to the Dhamma with mindfulness and attention. So much goodness had been done, and we would like to invite our guardian devas, all beings seen and unseen, our departed relatives, our friends, our family, our children, our colleagues, to please share in this happiness, share in these good deeds. Rejoice in this happiness, rejoice in these good deeds. By the truth of the Buddha's Dhamma that was shared just now, may all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be free from the causes of pain and suffering. May all the people who are working so hard at the front line, in clinics, in hospitals, in intensive care units, may they be safe, may they be happy, may they be healthy, may they be free from pain and from suffering. To all the people sitting in temple committees and excos working hard to share the Buddha Dhamma, may they be happy, may they live with metta karuna, may they be well, may they have the wisdom of the Dhamma. To every one of us here, may we in this critical time be happy, be healthy, be well. May we be free from physical pain and suffering. May we have peace, calmness, and happiness in our minds. And may we all continue to learn the Buddha Dhamma so that we can lead better lives, be noble people, so that we can contribute to our society and our family with loving kindness and compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be free from pain and suffering. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, again, I wish to thank Dr. Wong for sharing with us his Dhamma knowledge tonight. It's a very wonderful talk. We wish to have Doctor again in future, either on Zoom or in person after MCO, to share with us again your vast knowledge of Dhamma. And to other brothers and sisters, thank you for joining us tonight. And I hope everybody will stay home and stay safe and continue to practice metta and karuna. And let us hope that we'll overcome this pandemic together. Thank you and
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. Thank you, Dr. Wong.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Most welcome.
I'll listen to it again. Oh, okay.
Okay, 27 people left, so I will just end the meeting.